Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's jump right into it with the so-so segments. Basically, they weren't bad, they weren't good, they were just there. Now the first one, and actually the only one that makes it there, makes it because of the balance. The match itself, crap. The outside the ring activity, good. You'll understand when I say that. We have a 4-on-1 match with Alicia Fox, Eva Marie, Cameron, and Rosa Mendez versus Nikki Bella. We see the return of Brie Bella in the crowd, who gets in an altercation with Stephanie, which sets up actions for later in the night. The match again, crap. The outside action made it worth it. Stephanie's such a good heel that she's making you care about the Bellas. That's how awesome she is. Now let's jump right into our bad section. The most horrible thing I've probably seen on Raw in years, the Flo Rida concert. Now, I don't know any of you guys if you are or aren't a Flo Rida fan. I'm not. I kind of think it's just mindless pop dribble. If you like them, more power to you. I think there's way better rappers, way better R&B artists out there. Just, his music is nonsense, and it's basically the same thing we seen at WrestleMania 2 years ago with an added new song. I don't know why it's on TV, I don't know what it meant to the WWE, just it was bad. Next up, we had a match of the Giants, Rusev versus Khali. Rusev picks up the win. Kind of expected there. I thought this was actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be garbage. But still, I just didn't give enough of a crap about it to consider it good. Now, coming from that, we're going to jump right into our question of the week. Question of the week from last week was, what has been your favorite belt design or belt or title or championship of all time? We have some answers from our friends and then we'll get into mine. First is from Benjamin Me. Hey Heel Heat, for this week's question of the week, I like the current Intercontinental title belt. It's a cool belt. Very similar to the old belt, but looks better with the white strap. Also like the Undisputed title belt that became the WWE title belt and was replaced by that stupid spinner title. I like both of them designs that you're speaking of. The Undisputed I think was really cool. It was a bigger belt, kind of tying in everything that the WWE had done before with its belts. Next up from my cousin John Forget, I'm sorry. I know how to pronounce it right, John. I'm just, for some reason, when I read it off the paper, I read it wrong. Now, my cousin John says, that NXT title is cool and simple. I like the Smoking Skull title just because I like skulls. I also like Bradshaw's version of the Hardcore title. But Tommy Dreamer's license plate and barbed wire version was classic. And lastly, the European belt. Picking a World Heavyweight title was kind of hard. Each one became personalized and more and more for the character, holding the title for a while there. Each one unique and awesome. I kind of forgot about the personalized Hardcore titles. I do remember, I think it was a New York tag for Tommy Dreamers, and Bradshaw had the bull horns on it. They were really cool, actually. Next up's from our friend Dizzlepup. Hey George, I like the current USA title belt. The old WCW one was cool too. I like a belt to have a splash of color, and it just looks cool. The old ECW heavyweight title was also pretty cool as well. I didn't know that I Googled it until I Googled it because we don't get TNA here where I am, but they also have some awesome looking belts. I agree, TNA does very well with the designs of their belts. I actually like their belts better than WWE's belts. Next up, we have our friend Luke Norman. The belt I like most of all time was the old Intercontinental title belt because it had a great design, and my favorite at the minute is the TNA X Division title. So I'm guessing he's talking about the style that was similar to what the X Division used and now, where it was a more rounded belt. I liked it too. I think it was a cool belt, personally. I believe The Rock was the first one to use it. Last but not least is from our good friend at AUP116 from Twitter. I have to do a top 5 list because of respect of wrestling belts. 5 WCW Hardcore title, 4 the old X Division title with the big X, 3 the yellow strap Intercontinental belt, 2 the European title, 1 the WWE tag title from 2002 to 2010. It's the only belt that I still own and I wish was a tag team belt right now. Then the horrible effing penny design. Oh, an honorable mention that TNA tag title, that's its sweet belt. All great choices, and I believe someone, Dizzlepup, mentioned it, so I'm going to go ahead and show it. This is my favorite right here. The ECW World Heavyweight Championship. This was first made for Taz. If you look close enough, and it won't pick it up on the camera, but it actually says Taz here and here, around 2 bats wrapped in barbed wire on both sides. But a really cool belt, cool design. I think out of all the ECW titles they had, it was the best of the bunch. And obviously I'm an ECW super fan. Honorable mention for my favorite belt would have to be the one that I'm surprised no one else mentioned. The $1 Million Championship. I always thought it just looked damn cool, and it looked expensive, and it looked like it cost $1 million. Now, coming from that, we're going to go to our question of the week for this week. What has been your favorite face-painted wrestler? Now, it could be a guy that has wrestled both with and without the paint, or a guy that's just specifically used the paint, like a guy like the Ultimate Warrior who's been painted all of it most of his career, or a guy like Cody Rhodes who slipped into the paint just recently. Either way, what is your favorite wrestler to wear the face paint? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now we're going to go into the good for the week, the stuff I actually like. The opening segment, we had Triple H coming out, announcing that he's going to say John Cena's opponent for SummerSlam by the end of the show. We had Orton, Kane, and Reigns coming out to make their pitches for it to be them, which sets up a handicap match with Orton and Kane versus Reigns. Reigns used the dissension among the authority to get his win and pick up a very big, in my opinion, one of the biggest of his career to date, win over 2 very solid contenders. I thought it was good. I thought the whole setup was nice. I liked how it worked out. Next up, we had Bo Dallas versus Damian Sandow dressed as LeBron. I hate that they're doing this to Sandow. This one I found extremely funny, though. He's making it work. That's the best thing I could say about it. And I just thought it was good, and I love Bo. I'm a Bo lever. I think that the kid's really going to go far, and if they ever decide to do something with Sandow, so will he. Now, coming off of that, we had was supposed to be the highlight reel with Chris Jericho interviewing Bray Wyatt. We see that during the break on the app, Chris Jericho got attacked by the Wyatt family in their locker room, which leads us to the Wyatts cutting a promo in ring, which lets us reminds us that Bray Wyatt may have lost at the pay-per-view, but he hasn't lost the war, he just lost the battle. Thought it was good. I thought everything, the whole setting, the whole surrounding was good. They let Bray Wyatt come out and do what he does best, and that's talk on the mic. I also like the reaction he got from the crowd. He got more of a heel reaction he's been getting lately, because he's been getting somewhat of a face reaction just because everybody loves him. I like the fact that he's starting to turn it to where the fans are actually booing him again. And I think that's really needed for his character, for him to get the mega heat to be one of the big heels of all time. Now, I'm as surprised as anybody else this next match makes it on the list. We have The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm not a Miz fan. I think he's bland. I think he's boring. I don't know if it's Dolph Ziggler that pulled it out of him, but this is probably, in my opinion, one of the top 3 or 4 Miz matches of his entire career. I thought this was a good match. I thought Dolph winning was a surprise. It was refreshing. I thought everything about it was good. Then before we go to break, after the match, we have Cesaro pitching himself to Triple H as saying he's no longer a Heyman guy. He wants to be Triple H's guy. Thought that was cool too. I thought it was a neat little development, especially since they've moved Heyman away from Cesaro. Which leads us into our next thing I actually liked. And there's only one thing I enjoyed more than this next match in this next segment on the whole show. And I'll talk about that when I get to it. But the match I'm talking about is Paige and AJ Lee versus Emma and Natalya Neidhart. Solid tag team diva match. Followed by Paige finally going full heel and attacking AJ Lee and showing us how vicious and vindictive her character can be. I thought it was great. I thought the placing was awesome. I thought it should have actually happened on the pay-per-view. She should have turned after the match and did this there. However, doing it on Monday Night Raw is just as good. It should have happened on the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view was terrible. This could have helped make it better, but I'm not reviewing the pay-per-view right now. I'm reviewing Monday Night Raw, and I thought it was great, and it happened when it happened, and I thought it was much needed. I think we haven't had a serious top heel in the Divas division since probably Lay Cool at the heat of their popularity. AJ Lee was a good heel, but she was still getting cheered. I think Paige will be someone that could carry it as a real serious top heel. Now, coming off of that, speaking of Lay Cool and Layla, we had Fandango versus Zack Ryder, who had Summer Rae and Layla. Seems to be whoever is facing Fandango is going to have the 2 women with them, which, sign me up. I want to face that Fandango too. I thought it was awesome. I love the fact that Zack Ryder not only was on Monday Night Raw, but got a win on Monday Night Raw. I don't get why he's not pushed more than he is. I don't get how a guy who organically got himself over is ignored by the writers in the back and ignored by Vince McMahon and whoever makes decisions. I don't get it. I will never get it. I became a fan of him through the fact of how hard he worked and how dedicated he was to being the best that he could be. Now, is Zack Ryder my favorite wrestler? No. Is he the best wrestler on the roster? No. But he has that it factor, and he connected. He connected with a large enough portion of the fan base that he should get more than he does, which to me is disappointing. In my opinion, I think he's someone that should be used as, at the very least, a solid mid-card talent. But I digress. Very happy to see Zack Ryder win. Very happy to see him back on Monday Night Raw. Thought it was awesome. Next up, we have Stephanie McMahon getting arrested. Thought it was a good segment. It drug a little long. The cries that Stephanie was giving out towards the end for Hunter to save her and help her, I thought it added a lot to it, especially when we see that Hunter stays around to the end of the show. I think there's going to be, a little bit of tension going forward from that. Thought it was well done, well planned, and like I said earlier, it's making me give a shit about Brie Bella, which I can honestly say I don't think I've ever gave a shit about her. So this is, I attribute it to all the heel work that Stephanie's done. I think she's one of the best heels in wrestling. Coming off of that, we have the heel tag team of Ryback and Curtis Axel versus Kofi Kingston and Big E. Match very inconsequential. Ryback picks up the win. It's what happens after, that gives us one of those Raw moments, and that's Xavier Woods coming down in a white suit with what can only be explained as Malcolm X style glasses, and basically saying to his friends Kofi and Big E, haven't you had enough of smiling and laughing and dancing and doing this? Isn't it our time? It's our turn to take our spot instead of waiting to be given it. I thought it was great. I thought, I'm an Xavier Woods fan. If you people know me or have me on Facebook, you know that after that, and I've had it up there before, I met Xavier Woods at an NXT show. Great guy. I've been a fan of him ever since. I liked him before, don't get me wrong. Ever since meeting him, I've become more of a fan because of how cool he was and how personable he was with me. Now, I'd love to see where they're going to go with this group, whether it's going to be something as militant as the Nation of Domination, whether the fact that it's 3 African American or black men together isn't even going to be factored or isn't even going to be thought of, that they're just going to be another faction. There's all different ways they could go, but I think Xavier Woods showed us that he's more than the guy that they've made him out to be so far, more than just a Royal Rumble opponent or Royal Rumble entrant or random opponent for a squash match. Next up, we go to a segment with Goldust and Stardust. Again, Cody Rhodes has wrapped himself in this character so good. It's such a breath of fresh air to see him take this and morph himself into Stardust and make it something that you can believe in, and something that you don't even see Cody Rhodes anymore. You see Stardust. I think it's awesome. Him and Goldust, I think they're great. I want to see what this cosmic key that they keep talking about is, and I think it's just awesome what they're doing. Next up, we go into Dean Ambrose versus Cesaro. This match was, in my opinion, it's one of these matches where you look forward to seeing it. I was like, well, why are they giving this away on Monday Night Raw? This should be a pay-per-view match. And then we see that they don't give you everything. They give you a taste of it. And then Ambrose basically shows his violent side and attacks Cesaro with a chair, which causes him to lose. We get to see more of that as they say, the lunatic fringe in Dean Ambrose. We get a match that's preserved for later down the line when Ambrose and Cesaro meet up and they have a better, longer, more developed match. We still have that quote-unquote dream match out there for us to see as well. I thought it was great. I thought it added a lot to Ambrose's character. It might not have added much to Cesaro, but I don't think that Cesaro was the point in this. I think it was more about making Dean Ambrose, making more with Dean Ambrose with it. But all in all, like I said, I thought it was a great match. Not, quality of the match-wise, just the story it told and how it advanced. Last but not least, we get to the final segment. Triple H is going to name his #1 contender. He brings out Randy Orton, who's met with Roman Reigns. They fight through the crowd, which brings out Paul Heyman, which we see option C, which is the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Triple H sells his soul to the devil, shakes his hand and says, "You're going to get the match." Then we get one of the classic, always great Paul Heyman promos to end the show. There's not anyone in professional wrestling now There's not anyone in professional wrestling in the past, and there probably will not be anybody in professional wrestling in the future that cuts a better promo than Paul Heyman. There have been guys that have been on the level with him. Guys like Bobby the Brain Heenan. Guys like Jesse Ventura in his prime. Guys like Roddy Piper in his prime. Nobody, for my money, nobody as long as Paul Heyman's been doing this, either as a general manager, a wrestling advocate or manager, or even as the owner of ECW, nobody has cut a great promo for as long as Paul Heyman has and kept it relevant and fresh all the way through. If you think about some of the great talkers, maybe the only person I put on the level with him for the longevity combined with the way he does it would be Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, you got Stone Cold, who was a great talker, don't get me wrong. You got The Rock, he's a great talker. Mick Foley, great talker. Roddy Piper, Macho Man Randy Savage. You got all these guys that are great. But the sustained greatness of roughly a quarter of a century, 25 years or so, give or take a few, of how Paul Heyman does it. Now, another guy, and I'm sorry, I'm remiss that I didn't mention him, is Zeb Coulter, which some of you do know, some of you don't. He was a wrestler himself, and his name was Dutch Mantel. Now, if you think Zeb Coulter is a great talker now, and he is, he's great. He is awesome at what he does. Go on YouTube, because I know you go on YouTube because you're watching this show on YouTube. Go up when you're done watching this. Don't stop watching it now because we got a couple minutes left and I haven't got into my ratings yet, which you have to see. Go and search Dutch Mantel. I guarantee you will find something you enjoy. He's another one of them. But anyway, just a great ending of the show. All in all, a solid show all the way through. We're going to go right into our ratings so you guys can go search Dutch real soon. Remember, Dutch Mantel, M-A-N-T-E-L. We're going to go into it. We have a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's a Stardust, 4's a Cesaro, 5's a Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this show a 4, Cesaro. And the only reason I didn't give a 5 is because of Flow Rider. Flow Rider took a whole point off the ratings to me. But anyway, I digress. All in all, a great show. A great coming out of the pay-per-view type thing. A great way to set the table for SummerSlam, one of the big events of the year. I thought everything about it. I enjoyed most of the show, and I thought it was very good. If they could have somehow got rid of Flow Rider, it probably would have been a 5 of 5. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.